It's good to be back in Georgia. Yes, we can. Thank you. Yes, it's good to be back. Now, my first order of business, I want to find out who's scheduled me after a Baptist preacher. That's a hard act to follow. But I'm going to do my best. I was sitting backstage. Spirit was moving me. Well, I miss you too. I'm glad to be back. There's a reason that we are holding this rally on a Friday instead of a Saturday. Because the #1 team in the country is playing on Saturday, and nobody wants to go up against the Dogs right now. The reason I'm here is even simpler than that. I am here to ask you to vote for your next Secretary of State, B. Wynn. For your next Governor, Stacey Abrams. For Congressman Sanford Bishop. And to keep the Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock in the United States Senate. You don't have to wait for November 8th to cast your ballot. You can vote right now. Take a few minutes. Vote early at your polling place. They're open now until next Friday. Or you can vote at your polling place on November 8th. And if you're not sure how or where to go, just go to iwillvote.com. Let me repeat that, iwillvote.com. Find out where, make a plan. I love you too, but I still want you to vote. And after you voted, I need you to grab your friends and your family, round up Cousin Pookie, make a plan to vote. Take them with you if you vote early. Take them with you if you vote in person on Election Day. Because this election requires every single one of us to do our part. It is that important. Now, I think it's fair to say that this country's gone through some tough times these past few years. We have been through some stuff. We're just now coming out of a historic pandemic that wreaked havoc on families, on schools, businesses, communities. Everybody was impacted. A lot of folks lost people that they loved. And the pandemic highlighted, and in some cases made worse, problems that we have been struggling with for years. An economy that too often works for those at the very top, but not for ordinary people. Communities where too many of our children are out of school, and then they're out of work, and then they're out of hope, and that sometimes leads them to violence and despair. An erosion of basic civility and democratic norms in our politics, not just here and around the world. And I want to take a moment just to say a prayer for a friend of mine, Mr. Paul Pelosi, who was attacked. a politics where some in office or who aspire to office work to stir up division, to make folks as angry and as afraid of one another for their own advantage. And all of this has been amped up, hyped up, 24/7 on social media, on platforms that oftentimes find controversy and conflict more profitable than telling the truth. So I get why people are anxious. I get why you might be worried. I understand why it might be tempting sometimes just to tune out, to watch football or Dancing with the Stars. But I'm here to tell you that tuning out is not an option. Despair is not an option. The only way to make this economy fair is if we, all of us, fight for it. The only way to save democracy is if we, together, nurture it and fight for it. And that starts with electing people who know you and see you and care about you. People who will struggle alongside you. People who will fight for you. And that's what you did 2 years ago when you sent Joe Biden to the White House. Joe is fighting for you every day. He's got your back. He's doing everything he can to put more money in your pockets, to make your streets safer, and bring more good-paying jobs here to Georgia. You did it twice when you voted twice to send Reverend Warnock to the U.S. Senate, along with John Ossoff. And so now you need to do it again. Because there may be a lot of issues at stake in this election, but the basic question, the fundamental question that you should be asking yourself right now is who will fight for you? Who cares about you? Who sees you? Who believes in you? That's the choice in this election. Who will fight? Who will fight for working people who are struggling to pay their bills? Listen. Inflation is a real problem right now. And by the way, it's not just here in America, it's worldwide. It's one of the legacies of the pandemic. So the laws of supply and demand got messed up and wreaked havoc on supply chains. And then you have a war in Ukraine that is not only engaging in incredible cruelty towards the people of Ukraine, but it also sent energy prices through the roof. So we're seeing gas prices go up, grocery prices, and that takes a real bite out of paychecks. It hurts. But the question you should be asking is, who's actually going to do something about it? The Republicans talk a lot about it, but what is their answer? What is their economic policy? I will tell you what it is, because it's the same answer they've got for everything. They want to gut social programs, they want to cut Social Security and Medicare, and then they want to give their rich friends a tax cut. Don't boo, vote. And the reason I can say with confidence that they want to cut taxes for the wealthy and for corporations is because that's their answer to everything. When inflation is low, let's cut taxes. When unemployment's high, got to cut taxes. If there was an asteroid heading towards Earth, They would all get in a room and they'd say, you know what we need? We need tax cuts for the wealthy. That's going to solve it. How's that going to help you? And on the other side, you have Democrats like Reverend Warnock, who have shown that they will take on the drug companies to lower prices and get the oil industry to clean up its act and pass laws to make housing more affordable and make sure big corporations create jobs here in Georgia instead of overseas. Serious answers to serious problems. That's the choice in this election. That's what it's about. If you're watching TV, you've heard a lot about crime. Violent crime has gone up over the last 7 years, not just the last 2. Not just in liberal states, but in conservative rural states too. That's a serious problem. Who will fight to keep you and your family safe? The Republican politicians who want to flood our streets with more guns? Who actually voted against more resources for our police departments? Is it somebody who carries around a phony badge and says he's in law enforcement? Like he's a kid playing cops and robbers? Or is it leaders like Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff and Sanford Bishop, who worked with President Biden to pass the first major gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years? That's the choice in this election. That's what's at stake right now. Who will fight for your freedoms? Is it some of these folks in the GOP, politicians, judges, who think they should get to decide when you start a family, how many children you have, who you marry, who you love? Do not boo. Vote. Or is it Democratic leaders who believe that the freedom to make these personal, intimate decisions belong to every American? Not politicians in Washington. That's the choice in this election. That's what you have to decide. And who's going to fight to actually make our democracy work for you? Is it some of these folks in the other party that have promised if they get control of Congress, they'll spend the next 2 years investigating their political opponents? Now, how's that going to help you pay the bills? Or do you stand a better chance with President Biden and Democratic leaders who've worked together, sometimes with Republicans, to pass an infrastructure bill that will create new jobs, who've made health care and prescription drugs more affordable, who've made the single largest investment ever in the fight against a warming planet? That's the choice in this election.